Hi everyone, Incoterm quiz. Question number 1. Which Incoterm places the maximum responsibility on the seller for delivering the goods to the buyer's nominated place? X works, delivered at place, cost, insurance and freight, delivered, duty, paid. The key word here is maximum responsibility on the seller. So be careful on what you select. Okay, time is over. The correct answer is delivered, duty, paid. The final or the fourth option. Next question. What does Incoterms stand for? Is it intercommercial terms? Is it international contract terms? Is it international commercial terms? Or is it international commercial trade? The correct answer, let's see, what does Incoterms stand for? The full term of Incoterms is that it is international commercial terms. That's the full version of the term Incoterms. So in this 4 option, the correct answer is answer 3 or option C, which goes as international commercial terms. Next, how often is Incoterms reviewed? Is it reviewed every 2 years? Is it reviewed every 5 years? Or is it every 10 years? Or there is no any fixed review period? Select the correct answer. If in case you are watching this video and want to join in, onto the top right corner you could see the game pin. So go to the quizzes website, enter this game pin and you could join into the quiz. So time is over. How often is Incoterms reviewed? The correct answer is the third option, every 10 years. Yes, you would know Incoterms was reviewed in 2010 and thereafter it was reviewed in 2020. Before that there was no fixed review, but after that they planned saying okay, every 10 years we would review Incoterms because there are so many changes happening in the international trade arena. So 10 years is the fixed review period at the moment. So here option 3 or option C is the correct answer. Next question. Which Incoterm places responsibility on the buyer to perform export clearance? In which Incoterm does the buyer have the responsibility to clear for export as well? Okay, the given time is over. The Incoterm which places this responsibility where the buyer, the person who's buying, has to engage in the export clearance in the seller's country. So that's like the maximum responsibility towards the buyer. So that Incoterm is X works, option 3. In the others, it's the seller, him or herself, who would do the export clearance. Only in X works, the buyer, the person who's purchasing, will do the export clearance as well. Next question. Incoterms rules doesn't describe which of the following. Is it cost? Is it risk? Is it obligation? Or is it payment method? What doesn't it describe? That's the question. So out of these 4, what doesn't it describe? Okay, this is a pretty straightforward question. You should know that Incoterms describe cost, risk and obligation. These 3 things are the only 3 aspects that they cover in Incoterms. What they don't cover in this given question is the payment method. So here the correct answer is the fourth option, payment method. Sixth question, how many Incoterms are available? So here we are taking your question in relating to Incoterm 2020 to be more clear. So even according to that, how many Incoterms are available? Very easy question. So in total, international commercial terms are available as per 2020. There are only 11 terms available. So here the correct answer is 11. You should know there was one Incoterm which was removed, but again it was replaced with the other. So the count remains the same at 11. Next question. Which Incoterm was introduced to replace the Incoterm delivered at terminal? So in the Incoterm 2020, one of the most important changes that was done was that delivered at terminal Incoterm was removed, and instead of that, another new Incoterm was introduced. They are asking what that is. Okay, the given time is over. The correct answer, or the new Incoterm which replaced DAT or delivered at terminal, is delivered at place unloaded. So now we have two Incoterms which says delivered at place, but out of that two, one further mentions the word unloaded. So here the correct answer is D, or option 4, DPU. Next question, for which Incoterm is the highest level of insurance or institute cargo clauses A is required? So this is a most important question. Another change they did in Incoterms 2020. For one Incoterm, it fundamentally requires to give the highest level of insurance covering all risks. What is that Incoterm? Okay, time is over. You should know, as per Incoterms, only two Incoterms says that insurance must be done along. All the others say it depends on the negotiation between the buyer and the seller. So the only two Incoterms which specifies on insurance is cost insurance and freight, or we say CIF, and the other is carriage and insurance paid to, or CIP. In these two, the Incoterm which requires the highest level of insurance is CIP. Here the third option, carriage and insurance paid to. A lot of the students make a mistake here, thinking it is for CIF that the highest level of insurance is needed, because CIF is one of the most common Incoterms used by everyone. That's not the case. Since it is mostly used by everyone, the need for insurance is specified as the minimum level of insurance. So CIF requires the lowest level of insurance. In other words, that is Institute Cargo Clause C. The Institute Cargo Clause A, which covers all risks, which is considered as the highest level of insurance, is needed for carriage and insurance paid to Incoterm. So here that is option C. Only two questions remaining. Next question. Incoterms are regulated by. So who monitors, who regulates these Incoterms? Is it the US Customs? Is it the United Nations? Is it the International Chamber of Commerce? Or is it the World Trade Organization? Okay, this is also a pretty straightforward question. If you didn't know, it's one of the basic things that you have to know about Incoterms. Incoterms is introduced, currently managed, reviewed by the International Chamber of Commerce, the ICC. Be careful, don't think about cricket. This is trade. So even at trade, you have ICC, but here the ICC stands for International Chamber of Commerce. So here option 3. Last question. What is the only Incoterm which requires the seller to unload the goods at buyer's destination? So all the other Incoterms at each given point says keep the goods, the seller has to keep the goods for buyer's disposal. So buyer should be ready, or the goods should be delivered in a manner that it's easier for the buyer to unload. Only in one Incoterm it says the seller needs to unload the goods as well. What is that Incoterm? So here the correct answer is delivered at place, unloaded. The term itself tells you. The new Incoterm that was introduced, instead of delivered at terminal, the full term is delivered at place, unloaded. So only in this Incoterm, the seller is required not only to bring the goods to the buyer's destination, but also to unload the goods as well. That's the only Incoterm. So keep that in mind. So with that, so here the correct answer is option 3. So with that, we are done with this Q&A. I will meet you again with another similar quiz.